Soraya Correa is a legend in the federal acquisition community. She's done so many things and really innovated at her agency and across the government. So I'm very privileged to sit down with her today and ask her a few questions about her past innovations and what's coming in the future. So Soraya, how are you?
I'm good, Tim. How are you?
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. We're here at NCMA World Congress in Nashville.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Congress so far?
I think it's fantastic. We got 3,000, I think it's 3,100 people running around, lost in the hotel, don't know where the heck to go. The rooms are filling up, but they're getting their meals on time. That's the important stuff,
Yeah,
right? We're
exactly.
getting people fed. And there's plenty of bars and fun stuff to do.
Yeah, there is fun stuff to do.
Yeah.
And one of those fun things is to come to sessions, right, where they can learn with a little humor.
Yes.
So one of the things that I would like to ask you about, particularly, is your history with innovation in federal acquisition, because everyone knows there's mountains of rules. And mountains of rules spell trouble for innovators, okay? So what gave you the courage, and how did you go about it?
Well, when I became Chief Procurement Officer at DHS, I was already eligible for retirement. So guess what? No holds barred. What were they going to do? Fire me? No, I stood up what we call the Procurement Innovation Lab. And our goal there was really to create a safe space for contracting officers to bring ideas on how we can improve business processes. I take innovation to mean anything that we do differently. It doesn't have to be something new. And so I wanted to create this safe space for these contracting officers, and I only had a couple of rules. One was we don't force anyone to be innovative because that's not going to work. And the second rule was if you're successful, you get to go tell your story. And if you fail, I'll tell the story because that's on me. I own the failure. So it was largely very successful. And we even failed a couple of times, but it was very successful failures because we were able to teach and learn and get people inspired and motivated. Oh, and guess what? My head's still attached to my body, so I guess it was okay.
It certainly was. And I remember we were on stage at a conference, and you got asked a question about one of those failures.
Exactly, yes.
And
Flash.
you were happy to talk about it.
Yes.
So I don't know if you still want to talk about that.
I always talk about Flash. So Flash was this very innovative, different procurement that we were doing for for cloud services. And Luke McCormick was the CIO at the time, and we were trying to really do things very differently. Everything we did was very differently, from how we planned the procurement to how we conducted our industry days and all that good fun stuff. And then, of course, we got into the protest loop, right? You know, where people protest. And in the solicitation, we had said we would award maybe 8 to 15 contracts. No more than 15, no less than 8. We ended up awarding, I believe it was like 12 or 13 procurements. But those that didn't win protested to see if we would give them some more. We had to take corrective actions because we found some issues in our documentation. Ended up announcing the awards, pretty much stayed the same. Then we got another round of protests. And I went to leadership and said, this will continue because this is about twisting the agency's arm to give awards. I don't do arm twisting well. I am a fairly gutsy person. I stand my ground. So we decided to cancel the procurement, to which, the sighs, you could hear the sighs across the federal government. She's going to cancel it. Oh my God, the world's coming to an end, right? So I did. I successfully canceled the procurement, and I had done my homework before that and talked to people and told them how innovative we were being and that there was a probability of failure. So anyway, when I announced the cancellation of the procurement, I'm at a conference the next day, and somebody raises their hand and says, hey, I hear you guys canceled Flash. And I said, yep. And they said, well, what's going to happen? I go, well, what's going to happen is I'm going to give my team a really nice cash award because they did a damn good job. Interestingly enough, a few weeks later, 8 of the companies who had won the contract, who now didn't have a contract because I canceled the procurement, penned a letter to me thanking me for the innovation and encouraging us to continue doing it.
Positive feedback. You gotta love it.
And I'm still here.
Yes.
And I'm still here now.
So you stand as an outstanding example of people who are willing in positions of authority to try new things.
That's right.
To take the risk of failure, to stand on your failure and say, we're learning.
That's right.
And we're not going to stop.
We're not going to stop, and we're going to have fun as we do it.
Yeah.
We're going to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it a good ride for the people who take those risks. We're going to make them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I remember the first webinar we held regarding Flash, hearing the contracting officer of record say, this was okay. I survived it. It was good. I learned a lot from it. I had great support from leadership, and that's what really matters.
Yeah, congrats to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so, and I know that the pill concept, the innovation lab concept, is now spreading across the government.
Yeah.
Somewhat like wildfire.
I got to tell you, I should have charged, right? As you know, as I did this thing, I should have picked up the phone and said, "Hey, y'all are going to pay me if you do my pill." No, I'm kidding. No, I was glad to see people, take on the challenge, and people are doing it very differently, right? Some people are innovating in the procurement space. Some people are taking it to a broader spectrum, and some people are making formal offices. I started the pill with a team of 1, and then he grew to a team of 2. I think today they have like about 8 to 10 people. And every time they came and asked me for resources, I said, why? You're not doing the procurement. I want the COs doing the procurement. You're there to coach them, to guide them. But I'm very proud to see, it's spreading out across the federal government and see people trying and innovating. And here's the deal. What's the worst that could happen? We might get it right. We might learn something new. We might do something faster and better.
Yeah.
And along the way, we might teach some of those crazy people that don't want to take risks that it's okay.
Yeah.
We can do this and we know how to do it. So I'm very proud of it.
The truest testimony is when other people like your idea so much and they've seen the goodness of it and they take the chance themselves.
Yeah, well, I should have charged though. Still thinking I could have
Maybe
charged a few
we'll figure
fees.
that out someday.
Maybe I can go back. No, just kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm very proud of the work that they're doing.
So one other thing I know about you and your leadership is that you really believe that acquisition is a team sport.
Oh, yeah.
That it has to be played as a team. Would you like to talk about that for a minute?
Oh, I'd love to talk about that. Yes, it is a team sport. First of all, why would you want to go this alone? This is really complicated stuff. Get some people on the team, and then you have some people that you can blame along the way with you. Now, no, I'm kidding about that. No, it is a team sport. Issues that come up in procurement, very rarely are they about the procurement itself. It's about things surrounding the procurement, be it the funding, logistics, the requirement, the technical capabilities. I mean, I can just give you an endless list. And then, how are you going to solve that if you're the contracting person? You need to bring those people in. So my theory about procurement is this is a real team sport. We're the champions, the leaders that bring the team together. And I think we got to get them all to the table from the very beginning, the moment we know we're going to go do something. And let's have that conversation. And part of that is industry. I think it's extremely important that as you're sitting there machinating about what you think you want to do, don't sweat it, man. Put it out to industry and say, hey, we have this problem we're trying to solve.
Yes.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
And let's get industry feedback, because one thing I've learned, industry will talk to you and share ideas with you and work with you as long as there isn't a formal solicitation. Once there's a formal solicitation, they're in competitive mode and they're not talking. Exactly. But the more we can engage with industry and our fellow team players, the more successful we're going to be. And it's a pay me now or pay me later. I have had many people say, well, we don't have time to do all this planning and blah, blah, blah. And I go, okay, you're going to pay for it on the tail end of this thing. Because you're probably not going to get it right. You're going to probably have to reevaluate. You're going to get protests, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying that the planning will avoid a protest. There is no such thing. But it's the likelihood of reducing the probability of protests and also the likelihood that you're going to be successful in your protest because you will have engaged so much. So I believe in it. I loved my fellow CXOs at DHS. I don't know how they felt about me because I was constantly, okay, where are you? We're having a meeting. We're going to talk about this requirement. And look, you're not going to do that for everything, but you're going to do that for the big, the politically sensitive, the really important stuff. That's what you
I
do
got
it
the
for.
sense you didn't do it because you had to.
No, I
did it because
didn't.
you wanted to.
I
and you
love
saw the value of
engaging
it.
people.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is engaging people. I learned from the team, right?
Yeah.
I knew more about finance and IT. In fact, I used to scare the IT folks every now and then.
So, Soraya, I think we could talk for hours, but I think that I want to get to the next topic. Okay, so NCMA, we're at the World Congress in Nashville, has recently reconstituted the Contract Management Institute.
That's correct.
And you're the executive director. So in that role, what are your plans?
Oh, I'm going to have some fun. Now, Contract Management Institute is the research arm of the National Contract Management Association. We're there to do research that impacts the profession and the professional. So we're going to look at things like certification standards, look at how we can take our contract management standard, which is about having a common language across the profession, and make sure that we're continually getting it out there, getting people to adopt that common language, hopefully getting some folks to train on that common language so we can create greater portability of the workforce. So I'm very excited by all the great work that I can do at the Contract Management Institute. I have no shortage of ideas,
Right.
and I'm certainly going to solicit feedback. In fact, one of the things I'm doing here at World Congress is I'm going to solicit feedback from a lot of the executives in both industry and in government, be it state, local, or federal government. But the other thing that I'm going to do is see if I can get some folks to throw some money at me, because, you know, the Institute is a 501c3, so we work off of donations and contributions.
Yes.
So I'll be hitting up a lot of my close friends that are here at NCMA World Congress and saying, you could travel here, you could afford to donate, and you could afford to contribute your time.
Very good, very good. Well, all good success to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think from the standpoint of the research, is that research, you know, so I understand the language and the new NCMA, adopted by DOD, by the way,
Adopted
and
by
by
DOD
OFPP.
and OFPP,
right?
and industry, two large
Two big-
organizations.
yes,
That's
exactly.
right. Yes.
So that should be a great, like, kickstart.
Exactly. It's fantastic.
yeah.
And to get, and we even have certain universities have adopted it for teaching in their curriculum. So if we can continue to proliferate this contract management standard, this common language about how we talk about contracting and the profession and what we do, I think we're going to be hugely successful, because I can tell you, I spent 40 years in government, and one of my biggest criticisms was that we don't speak the same language. We don't.
Language matters.
Language
Words
matter. Words
And they're
matter.
defined differently by different people. They
Exactly.
you don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly. And it drives you nuts.
Yeah.
You know, I can't tell you how many meetings I would go to and I go, what are we talking about here? Because I don't think that means the same thing that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So I think it's extremely important to have that common language, that common understanding. And I'm always thinking about the workforce. You know me, you've known me for many years. I'm very passionate about the workforce, not only in this profession, but across the board. And I think having portability of the workforce is extremely essential. If we're going to make our government successful, we need to be able to bring people in from industry and send our people out to industry so
Yeah.
that we can learn from one another.
I think there are so many people who would appreciate just that.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
Including the workforce and all of the users of the services of that workforce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm excited about the opportunity this brings. And well, you know, Craig Conrad, I think he made a great choice. I just think he's probably going to be in for a few surprises
Yeah,
with all
well-
my crazy ideas.
He's not great with surprises, I don't think, but
We'll find out.
who is among us?
Yeah, well, we'll find out. No, but we'll have some fun
I think he
doing
made a
this.
great choice too, and
Thank
I'm
you.
here to applaud it and to thank
you.
you for sitting down with me for a few minutes here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. I've known you for so long, so it's
Yeah.
always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.